brothers and sisters. Let's do some news. The U.S. House of Representatives Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence has released the Trump-Ukraine Impeachment Inquiry Report. Here we go. The charge, which isn't actually a charge, but what they are claiming he did, is use the powers of his office to solicit foreign interference on his behalf in the 2020 election. Now, how you prove this, I don't know. I suppose you would have to have a memo or a statement from the president saying that here's why I did this. What they're trying to prove is intent. So this became an issue in the 2015-2016 non-prosecution of Hillary Clinton for destroying something like 33,000 emails, 110 emails and 52 email chains that contained classified, top secret, compartmentalized information. So the way the FBI framed it was that intent matters. It matters that she didn't think she was doing anything wrong. So it's being framed the same way here. Only they're trying to show intent. They're trying to demonstrate intent. So here is why he did this. And what they'll have to prove is that, number one, he did this. He used the power of his office to get a foreign government to interfere in the election, much in the same way that the Five Eyes surveillance network interfered in the 2016 election, you might say, or that the FBI chose to ignore the felonies of then presidential candidate Hillary Clinton. You might say perhaps one of Barack Obama's handlers speaking to a liaison from the Russian government saying on a hot mic that he would have more flexibility after the election. This may have actually been Obama's words. I believe it was Obama speaking to an emissary of Vladimir Putin saying that he would have more flexibility after the election on Russia and Ukraine. So we're not looking at something that's unprecedented. But you have to prove the action and you have to prove the intent. And this is why it's framed this way. So I want to try and break that frame because I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't care about any of it. If the president's guilty of a crime, charge him with a crime. Misdemeanors and high crimes are the grounds for impeachment, and I don't see it even reading through this report. So they say, as described in the executive summary report that follows, his scheme, President Trump's scheme, so they're assigning ownership and they are assigning intent. So if it's a scheme, it's intentional. So they haven't established that, but they're stating it in this inquiry report. Subverted U.S. policy toward Ukraine and undermined our national security in favor of two politically motivated investigations that would help his presidential reelection campaign. Okay, so these are politically motivated. Why? Because Joe Biden is running for president. Everyone knows Joe Biden isn't going to become the president, just like everyone knew Kamala Harris wasn't going to become the president when you release news that somebody sucks dick to become a senator. That person is not going to become the president, especially if they're lying about their race. Someone like Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, etc. It's fraudulent. It's fraudulent, a charade. And so Joe Biden, maybe he ran for this reason, knowing that it's likely he's going to be prosecuted for his actions in Ukraine. It's likely that his son is going to be prosecuted for his actions in Ukraine. Well, if he runs for president, then it's political interference. Then President Trump is using the DOJ as a weapon. Then President Trump is trying to use foreign aid as a weapon. Then he's trying to use a foreign government as a weapon. So you have to jump through all of these hoops to say that here's the intent and here's the action. We're going to connect these two, and we're going to say that the president tried to interfere in an upcoming election by trying to get a foreign government to prosecute a political opponent. Okay, what if he wasn't a political opponent? Would you have any problem with this? Would you have any problem with the president asking the leader of another government to investigate crimes that occurred that affected the 2016 election? If election interference is a problem, why are we not looking at the past election? Why have we already moved on past that? Why have we moved on past the FBA? The FBI ignoring crimes that would connect not just Hillary Clinton, but the former president, Barack Obama. Who's B.O.? Who's Bobama at gmail.com? Who is that? Is that someone who just happens to communicate classified information with the Secretary of State? I don't think so. I think Bobama is Barack Obama, but maybe I'm mistaken. So it wasn't just the Secretary of State who was communicating classified information, which is a felony, and then destroyed classified information, which is a felony. He then went on to order the FBI to wiretap Trump Tower, and the president says it. Obama had my wires tapped. The media lambasts him, and then we find out later that Obama had his wires tapped. Okay, so we don't care about election interference, obviously. Otherwise, the same people who are pumping this would be also pointing back to, well, we also need to investigate interference in the 2016 election. We haven't been able to demonstrate that there was any interference on behalf of Russia. The Russian collusion, the Russian election interference is a proven lie now. Mueller's report cleared it. There was no influence on the 2016 election from the Russian government, from the GRU, from anyone having to do with that Russiagate hoax. And yet now we are concerned about election interference. So the president has a conversation with Zelensky. Zelensky's the leader of Ukraine, and they suck each other's asses for a little while. I'll pull up the... Okay, so this is a memorandum of the telephone conversation in question. So all of what I heard brilliantly called Russiagate to Ukrainian Boogaloo. This is the center of it right here. This is unclassified by the president on September 24th, 2019. A memorandum of the telephone conversation between President Zelensky and President Trump. July 25th, 2019, 9:03 to 9:33 p.m. So they had approximately a 30-minute conversation. The president starts out talking, hey, great victory, you won. I'm going to suck your ass for a little while here. President Zelensky, yeah, you're right, we worked real hard. Let me suck your ass for a minute. Ha ha ha, that's a good idea. So it's small talk, it's banter. Hey, we're both presidents. Hey, let's jerk each other off for a second. Okay. Well, it's nice of you to say that. We do a lot for Ukraine. Okay, so the president brings up, hey, we're giving you money. We're selling you weapons. We are offering at least lip service in regard to Ukrainian autonomy, let's say sovereignty, with respect to Ukraine and Russia. So there's a lot of reading you could do about the history of Ukraine, why we're involved in propping up Ukraine. George Webb, W-E-B-B, has done extensive coverage of Ukraine, and so did We Are Change. Luke Rutkowski at We Are Change has been to the Ukraine when they were engaged in this sort of civil war type thing. So, hey, we do a lot of stuff for you. It looks like there are some bad things happening in Ukraine, but we've been especially good to you, and I want this relationship to continue. Okay, President Zelensky, yeah, you're right, 100%. No, 1,000%. And they talk about Angela Merkel, and she's paying lip service. Well, we support Ukraine. Okay, but not doing anything. This is the president's contention, and Zelensky agrees. And they talk about Angela Merkel and Macron paying lip service, but not actually aiding Ukraine. Then here's the the nail in Trump's coffin, right? So I would also like to thank you for your great support in the area of defense. We are ready to continue to cooperate for the next step. Specifically, we are almost ready to buy more javelins from the United States for defense purposes. Javelins are missiles, guided missiles. The President. I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot and Ukraine knows a lot about it. What's he talking about? Our country's been through a lot, Ukraine knows a lot about it. He's talking about the 2016 election. He's talking about Russiagate. He's talking about Spygate. He's talking about all of that. The emails, the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, the Five Eyes surveillance, Russia's involvement, Ukraine's involvement, China's involvement, the UK's involvement, Alexander Downer of Australia's involvement, all of this interference in the 2016 election. And not just interference, but campaign contributions. If you go through WikiLeaks emails, you can find that then candidate Hillary Clinton, now failed candidate Hillary Clinton, was taking money from Qatar, taking money from Saudi Arabia, taking money from warlords in Africa. And this money is being funneled by, what's this guy's name? I wish I could pull it up right now. So some pedophile was just charged for misappropriating campaign funds that are coming from all over the world and funneling campaign funds into Hillary Clinton's political campaign for president. Okay, so why are these pedophiles so interested in getting Donald Trump out of office? I suppose that's a question for another time. Okay, so we've been through a lot. That's what he's talking about. That's the context here. We've been through a lot. Ukraine knows a lot about it. So why would Ukraine know anything about this? Well, maybe they have those servers, the servers that were destroyed. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike. So you may recall CrowdStrike. I've done videos on this before. You can go back and look at the DNC hack. You can go back and look at the Seth Rich robbery. And I've covered all this stuff in the past. So if you read source documents 3 years ago, 4 years ago, you know what's playing out right now. It's just theater. It's opera. Okay, so this whole situation with Ukraine, they say CrowdStrike. I guess you have one of your wealthy people, the server. They say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on with the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people, and I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance. Okay, so many people, good people on both sides, were disappointed with the performance of Robert Mueller in his testimony and when he gave this Russia hoax report. Okay, well, we've been counting on this. This is it for Trump. He's done this time. We're going to use this to get him out of office. We know he colluded with the Russians. Okay, no you don't. And in fact, your guy that you propped up this whole time, Robert Mueller, is this vision of integrity. He's a veteran prosecutor and he was a military man and he's going to get Trump for us. Nope. Cleared him. No Russian interference. A handful of Russians bought Facebook ads totaling somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 in Facebook ads. Nope. So that was washed away, right? Robert, the Russia hoax collapsed under the testimony and the, what would you say, the report of Robert Mueller. But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible. So what is he asking for? He's saying, hey, we've had this good relationship. We've had ups and downs. The U.S. has been through a lot. We've been supportive of Ukraine, where these others, Angela Merkel, Emmanuel Macron, have not been supportive of Ukraine in the same way that we have. Could I ask you a favor? Okay, so Maybe I don't hate the president enough to make this say what people are saying it says, but there's no offer of military aid or of any kind of defense aid or any kind of humanitarian aid or any money or weapons or anything in exchange for the president doing what he can. So he's being asked to do whatever you can. I want to find out what happened with CrowdStrike. I want to find out what happened with the situation with Ukraine. I want access to the server if you have it. A lot of things went on here in the 2016 election. Now this should be bipartisan, right? Because for the last 3 years, 4 years, people have been screaming that election interference is a big deal. We need to prosecute the bad guys so that we can heal as a nation. Okay, but all of a sudden, no one wants anyone prosecuted for anything that happened in 2016 because now they're thinking about the 2020 election. Election interference is irrelevant unless it was on behalf of President Trump, and unless it is now on behalf of President Trump. Election interference is irrelevant. Trump is what's relevant. We want to get him. We want to stop Trump. And coincidentally, a lot of pedophiles want to stop Trump. Okay, so yes, it's very important for me and everything that you just mentioned earlier. For me as a president, it's very important that we are open to any future cooperation. We are ready to open a new page on cooperation and relations between the United States and Ukraine for that purpose. For that purpose, I just recalled our ambassador from the United States, and he will be replaced by a very competent and very experienced ambassador who will work hard on making sure that our two nations are getting closer. So all he says is, yeah, it's important for me that we find out what happened. He's not even offering anything. Okay? Maybe he will, but he hasn't yet. So that section is the whole story, right? This is a transcript of the phone call, and then a guy heard that the president was dangling Ukraine aid in exchange for Ukraine going after Joe Biden, as if Joe Biden has a snowball's chance of becoming president of the United States. He's falling apart. He's not remembering his name. He doesn't know what state he's in. The guy seems a little bit too touchy with children, especially young girls. My opinion, maybe he's just a friendly guy, but you don't touch and smell people's kids. Okay, so that's that. For that purpose, I recalled our ambassador, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to see him having your trust and confidence as well. So I have a new ambassador. I think he's going to do great things. I would like for you to trust him. Okay, whatever. I will personally tell you that one of my assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani. This is Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York, just recently, and we're hoping very much that Mr. Giuliani will be able to travel to Ukraine, and we'll meet once he comes to Ukraine. I just wanted to assure you once again that you have nobody but friends around us. I will make sure that I surround myself with the best and most experienced people. It's as if he's speaking Trump's language, like he's trying to speak the way that Trump speaks. I also wanted to tell you that we are friends. We are great friends. And you, Mr. President, have friends in our country, so we can continue our strategic partnership. I also plan to surround myself with great people. And in addition to that investigation, I guarantee, as President of Ukraine, that all the investigations will be done openly and candidly. That I can assure you. He talks about this prosecutor now. Okay? So up to this point, we have, hey, here's a hand job. Oh, that hand job feels great. Here's a hand job for you. Oh, that's great. All right. So now that we've both given each other hand jobs, maybe we can continue to have a relationship after this. Maybe you'll call? And he says, of course I'll call. We're best friends. And then he says, hey, there seems to have been some criminal activity in the 2016 election, or what we would consider election interference. Can you look into it? Sure, because we're great friends and that was such a great hand job, I think I'm going to do that. Okay, now we're moving on. He talks about the prosecutor that Joe Biden had shut down. He had this guy fired, and Joe Biden is on video stating that he had this guy fired. Let me see if I can pull that up quickly without losing my train of thought while I talk here. So Hunter Biden sits on the board of Burisma, which is a energy company, and he has no business there. He has no experience in the energy sector. He has no business being on this board, and he gets basically a no-show job. If you're unfamiliar with that term, I'm on your payroll because I have access to the vice president. I will never show up for work. I will never attend any meetings. I will never do anything for your business. But if my phone rings and it's you, I might be able to get you access to the vice president of the United States. So he's selling influence. Who knows what this guy was paid? There are multiple reports. He's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars a month for a no-show job for which he has no experience. His resume is, I'm Joe Biden's son. Okay, Joe Biden got prosecutor fired. We'll see if it shows up. So Joe Biden steps in and has a prosecutor who's looking into crimes alleged to have been committed by Burisma.
I just want to put one other issue on the floor before I get another question or two, which is Ukraine. This administration, unlike the administration you worked in, decided to provide limited defense articles to Ukraine. Do you think that was a wise decision? And more broadly, do you see any scope for any sort of a deal on eastern Ukraine?
The answer is yes, I think it was a wise decision. But then again, I was pushing that for 2 years before we left. And the reason is, I think the more you up the ante, the cost to Russia for their aggression. I mean, as you all know, and you know this better than anybody, the one big lie going on about Ukraine back in the rest of Russia is that no Russian soldiers are engaged, they're not dying, no body bags are coming home, etc., because there's overwhelming opposition on the part of the body politic in Russia for engagement in Ukraine in a military sense. I think the Donbass has potential to be able to be solved, but it takes two things. One of those things is missing now, and that is I'm desperately concerned about the backsliding on the part of Kyiv in terms of corruption. They made, I'll give you one concrete example. I was, not but it just happened to be, that was the assignment I got. I got all the good ones. So I got Ukraine. And I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well,
so thanks for that, Joe. You stupid asshole. All right, so we went through this. You can go through it in its entirety if you just search. What I do is I search PDF. I just add PDF to what it is I'm looking for so that I don't have to go through the Daily Beast or some other bullshit to get to the primary source. Okay, impeachment inquiry launched. Here's the report. They even use as a background in this thing the smoking gun. Okay, so we don't care about election interference. We don't care about quid pro quo. Obviously, what we care about is stopping Trump. That much is clear. Okay, so the question no one is asking, and here's the frame that I am viewing this through, why are we giving aid to anyone? Why are we giving aid to anyone? So $4.8 billion to Afghanistan, $3.36 billion to Iraq, $3.18 billion to Israel, $1.38 billion to Jordan, hundreds of millions to Ethiopia, South Sudan, Kenya, Pakistan, Nigeria, Uganda. Do you give a shit about the people in any of those places? Assuming your brother, sister's not there fighting one of our endless wars. I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt you know an Iraqi. I doubt you know an Ethiopian. And I know you would rather this money be spent to help your neighbors, your family, etc. if we're going to take people's money and reappropriate. I'm not going to make a moral justification for that. So a total of 552,830 people were experiencing homelessness on a single night in 2018. So this is from endhomelessness.org. We have other problems, and yet our whole media apparatus right now is focused on, are we going to keep these weapons flowing into Ukraine? The president said, we're not going to give you any more weapons if you're not going to do what I ask you to do and get Joe Biden out of the presidential race. Okay? So we don't care about crime. We don't care about quid pro quo. We don't care about foreign aid when we need domestic aid. What is this conversation about? TradingEconomics.com. Government debt in the United States increased to $23 billion in October from $22 billion in September of 2019. So that's pretty cool, right? And this is just public debt. This doesn't include unfunded liabilities. I'm not going to get into it right now, but you can search that term, unfunded liabilities. This is money that's already spent even though it hasn't been spent yet. You have a 30-year mortgage you've paid for 15 years. The next 15 years that money is already spent, it's already accounted for, that would be considered an unfunded liability. You still have to pay it, it's already spent. And you're paying interest on it. Top issues in every election, so we'll go to this onion thing first. Climate change remains among the most important, either non-existent or irreversible issues of the campaign. Income distribution has become less of a hot-button issue since the elimination of the middle class. A nuclear Iran. Voters are divided in their choice between a candidate who aggressively opposes this and a candidate who vehemently opposes this. Holding Wall Street accountable to Main Street, mass shootings, Peachtree Theater. Israel, general consensus to keep those blank checks coming. And as we saw, Israel, third in the list here, $3.18 billion. Okay, what are the actual top issues? Consistently, healthcare, economy, and immigration. So what do you care about, right? If you're going to say it's okay for the government to steal someone's money and give it to me, what do you want them to be paying for? Well, you want to feel safe. You want physical security, meaning your person, and psychological security. You want to feel safe. So you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall. You can't handle the truth about what happens on that wall that helps you sleep in your bed at night. This is Jack Nicholson, I think, in A Few Good Men, if I'm not mistaken. So healthcare, economy, immigration. Every election, immigration, the economy, and healthcare. Why? For the reasons I just identified. That's what people care about. They don't care that you're stealing someone's money to pay for these things, to pay to make them feel safe, to pay to make them physically healthy, etc. Because if they actually cared about healthcare, they would just lose weight. That's the most expensive healthcare item in the United States, obesity. Stroke, heart disease, other cardiovascular diseases, diabetes. Almost all diabetes in the United States is self-imposed. It's type 2 diabetes. You develop it because you've burned out your pancreas by eating bullshit your whole life. So people don't actually care about their health. They care about having their symptoms alleviated in a timely fashion as cheaply as possible. The economy. Why do they care about the economy? Why do they care about my hot wife over here? They care about the economy because they want things. They want money. We are a materialistic people, a materialistic culture, and that is amplified by this apparatus constructed around us to tell us what to fear, what to buy to alleviate that fear. And immigration. Immigration is not good for the first world. It's good for the few people who get to the first world from the third world and get on welfare, or maybe the small percentage of them that get jobs. If you look at immigrants, legal immigrants who have been in the United States for 10 years, more than 50% of them are still on public assistance. So when the president said they're not sending their best, it's true. It's true. And maybe they are sending their best. You get an effect called brain drain or human capital flight. So Somalia, the people who are best able to mobilize resources and go through the immigration system to get to the first world are going to be likely the most intelligent and most capable people in that society. What happens when you lose all of your most intelligent and most capable people? Well, the warlords step in, and whoever is the most aggressive, the most willing to engage in violence to achieve an outcome, they rise to the top of the society and they take control. Brain drain. Look it up, folks. So immigration is terrible. It's terrible. If you care about the environment, you're taking someone from a place where their carbon footprint is exceedingly small and sending them to the first world where it's amplified tenfold instantaneously. We've already moved past the initiation force. We've already accepted that healthcare, the economy, and immigration, I'm willing to take someone else's money to pay to make me feel safe. All right, so these issues are going to be issues indefinitely into the future. We don't care about crime. We don't care about people in Somalia. We don't care about conflict in Ukraine. We don't care what Russia's doing. We care about feeling safe. And that's it. And that's it. This report, let's say this convinces 30% of America that the president did this. He used the powers of his office to solicit foreign interference on his behalf in the 2020 election. Let's say they're convinced that he did that. Independents aren't, and anyone on the right isn't, because you're trying to prove intent, and it can't be done unless someone stated their intent, made that intent known, such as Joe Biden saying, well, if you don't fire this prosecutor, I'm leaving and you're not getting $1 billion in aid. That's by definition the quid pro quo, or pay to play, that they've been talking about. It doesn't matter that Joe Biden did this, because we don't care about the act itself. We care about stopping Trump. And that's what it's always been about. We'll see you guys.